Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Megan and I appreciate you being here. Today's video is going to be all about what I spent in April. If you are new here, I'm in the process of going through kind of a life change. I've been sort of furloughed from my job, but long story short, I'm not working. I have no income, and April had planned to be a quite expensive month, and it ended up being far more expensive than I had even expected. So I'm going to go through my budget, I'm going to go through what I spent category by category and try and make a plan for May. But if you can't tell, I'm in a new location. I have moved back to the States temporarily, and yeah, it's been kind of a challenge to plan and to set expectations as far as financials. Okay, but let's jump into April budget. Starting right up at the top with income, you can see that I had planned for 0 altogether because I knew that I wasn't going to be working for this month. My actual column is a little bit different. I got a random 383 dirhams deposited into my account from my job. I think it might have just been like a day after payroll period or something like that. 0 for bonus, of course. My interest, this is just from my high yield savings accounts, was 274 dirhams. And cash back. Because this was such an expensive month, a high spend month, my cash back was quite high. It was 309 dirhams. And then no other income, so I was working with an income of 968 dirhams, which obviously is not enough to live off of, so I pulled from my savings. We'll come back to the amounts that I pulled from my savings at the end of the expenses. So moving down into rent, I do pay my rent every 4 months. So normally what I do is I take an amount every single month and put it into a savings account, which is 3,550, and let that sit there until I have to pay. I decided not to do that. So I had planned to do that. I decided not to move the money over until I need to actually make the payment. So while that was the amount that was planned, the actual amount was 0. DWA, I expected 250. It was 266. That is the water and electricity. That was a little bit more, but nothing too significant. Internet was exactly what I expected. Plan 230 was 230. Gas for the home, 49.69. Exactly what I expected. Chiller, that's the air conditioning. We didn't really use it in April. 88.99. Car gas. So this is gas for my car. I didn't know what to expect, so obviously I wasn't commuting back and forth to work. But we did end up taking a road trip at the end of the month, so I had budgeted 150, actually spent 220, so it was about 70 over. It's fine. Car tolls and extras. This was a big expense this month as well. I had budgeted 1,762, and I spent 1,703. So I actually came in a little bit under, but this covered my renewal fees. This covered my insurance. I had a fine that I needed to pay. Yeah, so everything now is all up to date and current and ready to go. So from here on out, that should be pretty much negligible. Groceries. I had planned 1,000, but I knew I was moving at the end of the month. So I really tried to eat out of my cupboards, really eat the food that I had in the house. And because of that, I actually had to grocery shop less. So I spent less, and I spent 882, which was 117 under budget. Jasper, that's our cat. I had budgeted 100, which is a little bit less than what I normally budget, but because I was leaving, my partner and I bulk bought a lot of things for him for the time that I'm going to be away, and we spent 353 dirhams and 93 fils each, so this is my portion of that. For health expenses, so this is the big expense that was planned. I had planned 10,400 dirhams. It was 10,400 dirhams, and then there were a few extra things that I needed to purchase with it. This is thankfully the end of a long health journey, long financial health journey. So this was the last payment that I needed to make. It is now done, and I am up to date, and I'm finished paying for this. Moving down into the fun categories. Restaurants, I had budgeted 100. I spent 116, so 16 over. My partner really stepped up in this category. When we went out, he covered a lot of things for me, which was really kind and unnecessary, but really did help with my budgeting for a month that I had no income. Delivery, I had budgeted 0, but I spent 136. Personal, this is another one that was more expensive than I thought of. than I thought it should be, but I guess I really should have just budgeted more in this category. I budgeted 200, I spent 876.67. This was higher, and I should have expected it to be because I wasn't working. I needed to purchase some things that, occupied my time. You can see in the note there that I purchased running shoes, some things to keep me busy, like things like hobbies and such. Yeah, there were just a few things that I needed this month. It looks like it's way over, and it is, but the money was there. I'm not that concerned about it. Is what it is, and we're moving on. The nice thing about having savings set aside is that you don't need to deprive yourself 100%. There were things that I needed. I bought those things, and it is what it is. For subscriptions, that was a little bit lower because I did cancel a few things. I'd budgeted 207, and I spent 124. ClassPass is my normal subscription, was $199. That is the last time I was doing that because now I've moved, I've canceled it. For the home, I budgeted 30. It ended up being 42. That was just some necessities. Travel. So I budgeted 0 because this spreadsheet is only showing the expenses from my UAE account. This is what I spent in dirhams. So you can see that I spent 47 dirhams on something travel related. But what you don't see on the spreadsheet is my flights to the US. So I purchased my flights with my US credit card, which is not reflecting in here. So there is a balance on that card as well. The flights were about $1,800, and then there were a few miscellaneous expenses on there as well. So I've got about $2,000 sitting on my US credit card as well. So that brings us almost to the end of the expenses here. I had $31.40 in miscellaneous expenses that didn't fit in any other category. And you can see that the total amount spent in dirhams in April was 15,883 dirhams. It looks like it's less than what I had budgeted, but really the reason it's less is because I didn't pay myself my rent. So it actually ended up being more than what I had planned, plus the flights that are not actually on this spreadsheet. So very expensive month. If I come back up to the top here where I pulled from my savings, we'll start with sinking funds. So I pulled 5,807 dirhams out of my sinking funds. These were various sinking funds. I pulled everything out of these, so these are now back down to 0. But this was planned spending. From my emergency fund, I pulled 4,388, which is a random number, but it left my emergency fund at a nice even number. And then the rest came from my sabbatical fund, which was 5,306 dirhams, which was a total of 16,469. So yeah, 16,500 dirhams spent plus $2,000 spent, which is about 8,000 dirhams. So 24,000 dirhams spent in 1 month. Yeah, that was an expensive month. Thank God I had the savings set aside for it. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it in this video or not, but I am planning on getting some sort of job while I'm here to at least cover my expenses while I kind of plan for things to go back to normal. Okay, so that was it for April spending. A very spendy month, a very unusual month, and a hard time to have a very expensive month. Now I am in May. I'm back in the States for now. I'm not working yet, but I am planning on finding something. It's very hard to know what's coming as far as expenses. I'm staying with my family, so I don't need to really worry too much about housing and food costs for now. I do still have my apartment back in Dubai, where my partner still is and he's still working. So I do need to cover that. I have savings left that I am planning on pulling from to cover whatever I need to cover. And for now, I've just kind of got space holders in my budget for May. Maybe I'll share what May looked like at the end of the month. But yeah, I'm still kind of figuring it out day by day to determine what's best for me in this phase of life. May should look very different from April. Should not be as expensive, thank God. And I think that is it for this video. Has anyone else had a super expensive April? I'm going to be taking a deep breath and recovering from that. If this was interesting to you, please drop a comment down below. Follow along on this journey if you're interested in seeing how I figure out this transition in my life. And I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next one.